The following podcast is a presentation of Small Biz America. This is Beyond Networking. And now, here's your host, Ron Sukenick.
Well, good afternoon and welcome to Beyond Networking, Being with Ron Sukenick. And I am Ron Sukenick, and I am thrilled that you're joining us. And in fact, if you're listening to us for the very first time, this is a weekly podcast. It's about taking networking and relationships to another level. And you know, we do this by inviting on innovative thinkers and creators that can and do share real strategies and real techniques and how you can be and take your thinking to another level. And when I say being, you know, whether it's with yourself, being in business, being on a team, or being in a relationship, that's what we're here to talk about. And so let's, once again, just jump into today's program. I want to introduce a gentleman that wants to make us have a great day. His name is Phil Gerbyshak. He's the author of the book, 10 Ways to Make It Great, a speaker, a consultant, and somehow got the title of Relationship Geek. And if anybody has a mission, you're going to love this one. Phil's mission on this planet is simple. He wants to help people unleash the greatness inside them by connecting people to the ideas, people, and information they need to crank it up and take things to another level. Phil, welcome to the program.
Well, thank you, Ron. It's a pleasure to be here.
Phil, I know you wrote the book, 10 Ways to Make It Great. I'm having a lousy day, Phil. So what do? I'm having a lousy day. Is there a place that I have to start, Phil, when I want to make things great?
Absolutely. Well, of course, you need to start at the end, wherever that end is. If it's the end of the day, if it's the end of the week, the end of the month, the end of your life, you need to start at the end and then work toward today. And think about those outcomes that you want to happen between now and the end.
Oh, my goodness. Well, that's in contradiction with Glenda the Good Witch when she spoke to Dorothy. Because if you recall, that movie came out in 1939, Phil, and she didn't think she was in Kansas anymore. And she asked, how do I get back to Kansas? And she said, you follow the yellow brick road. And she says, well, how do you do that? And she said, like all good things in life, you always start at the beginning. But you've got us now starting at the end. I love that. So is it about me having a vision of what it looks like when it's a great day? Is that how that is?
Absolutely, yeah. The key is you need to picture exactly what that greatness means to you. Now, it's going to be different for you, Ron, than it is for me or maybe for many of the listeners, but it's important that you have that vision so that you can do that retrospective look and you can say, okay, well, if this is what I want at the end, these are some of the things that I need to do today and every day to take it from good to great.
Oh, I love that. So that's great. You're one of the very few people that kind of tell me that you got to start at the end. But I got to take you back a little bit, Phil. This Relationship Geek thing, I love it. Now, did you come up with that name? Did someone else come up with that name? How'd that whole thing come about, and what does it mean?
Sure. Well, I'd love to take credit for it, but that'd be disingenuous of me. Who actually came up with that is my friend Greg Belanco-Dixon at sbishere.com. Good friend of mine, really great guy. We were having a conversation one night about really being beyond networking as you are, Ron, taking relationships deeper. And I'm a technology guy, love technology, have the latest toys. I've got a new BlackBerry and all sorts of toys. And he said, you know, you are a relationship geek. And I said, well, Greg, what does that mean, man? I like it, you know, and I'm certainly going to use it, but what does that mean to you? And he said, you know, Phil, what that means to me is that you are an expert at building relationships, especially using technology, things like social media, things like email, things like voicemail, and really, quite honestly, taking some of the old-fashioned ways, like writing thank you notes and taking those to a whole new level. So I said, wow. You know, I love that. I'm going to steal that. So I'm the Relationship Geek, and I get some folks that call me that, and certainly wear that badge with pride.
Yeah, and you know something? The more I hear that, Phil, I'm also a relationship geek. I mean, you don't have to be a technology person to be geeky. I mean, you can just be into people and be a geek, couldn't you?
Absolutely. Geek is a term of endearment, I think, and it's a term that means expert, not a term that means technology.
I love that. So you then take your understanding of technology. So it's safe to say that you are technologically savvy.
Yes.
And you use technology as a way to build and strengthen and deepen relationships with people. Is that what I'm hearing?
Absolutely correct.
Okay, so help me out on this, because not everybody is as technologically savvy, but we live in a world where you have to be that because there's so much info. So give me a couple of ideas. Give us some ideas. How are you using technology to strengthen and deepen relationships with people?
Sure. Well, the first way is I've got a blog, very interactive, at makeitgreatguy.com. And that is really the number one way, because it allows me to kind of float ideas out there. And then in the comments section, it allows people then to kind of pick up one of the ideas, because I write just about every day. And it's just one idea that you need to pick up and run with that, and whether it's leaving a comment or going back to your own website and maybe expanding upon that article, or taking the time to send me an email or give me a call offline and say, hey, I've really enjoyed that article. Here's the impact that it had on me. So that's one great way. The other way is I go out to other people's sites, like I've been out to yours, Ron, at RelationshipStrategiesInstitute.com, and checked it out, and really I get to know who you are through that technology, because with the internet now, it's more of an interweb, and we're all connected in one way or another. So the key is to find those connection points and to really sharpen those up so that they're at a point where I know what you're about, you know what I'm about, and together we can find those synergies that we can use to make it great.
Oh, I love that. So the more we know about each other, Phil, the more likely it is we can help one another. So not only do you create this blog that gives you an opportunity to increase frequency of interaction by making it interactive, but you go to people's sites. So I love that. Taking the time to visit other people's sites. Give me another little hint on ways you use technology.
Sure. Well, one way, Ron, actually is what you're doing right now, and that is interviewing people that are as smart or smarter than me. Because there's so many people out there, and what I'll do then is I'll interview them and I'll ask them, hey, so what tools are you using? How are you using technology? Because, I can tell you how I use it, and, that's what you asked me, so I'd certainly give you those answers. But I can tell you, I'm not the only smart guy in the room. There's tons of them out there. So the key is to find those people that are smarter than you and to latch onto them and ask them how they're leveraging their technology. Because while you may not copy their exact steps, what you can copy is you can copy that thought process of what you're looking to build. And if that's a mega network, if you will, that's certainly what you're going to do. And one other way that I'll share with you is a tool called LinkedIn. LinkedIn.com is a great place that you can go. You can connect to other people, and then how I help people is I'm fairly open to my network. If I've connected with you and you've taken the time to send me an email and explain perhaps how I can help you, I'll connect you into my LinkedIn network, and then you can peer inside and you can say, hey, Phil, I'd really like to know Ron. Can you introduce me to Ron? And, of course, unless you're a total schmuck, which none of my friends are, I'm going to introduce you to whoever you want to. So then taking that email connection and saying, hey, Sally, here's a little bit about Ron, and here's how I think Ron can help you. And then, Ron, here's a little bit about Sally, and here's how Sally can help you. And then really getting the heck out of the way so that people can help each other.
Oh, I love that. So the concept, based on what you just said, was to find people that are smarter than you. So it sounds like you're smarter than me, Phil. I must have achieved my objective.
Well, I said as smart or smarter.
It's smart or smarter. So. Okay, but I've heard it. But look, networking, Phil, is pretty awkward for most people. Okay, you probably know this.
Absolutely,
it's hit and miss. Networking, in a sense, and how I preach it, is not like at all what it used to be. So from the standpoint of your mission, if you will, to, you love the idea of connecting people to ideas and people and information to crank up what they need. Where did that passion come from?
Well, that passion started really early on in my life. I've been, I thought I wanted to be a teacher originally. When I went to school, I spent 3.5 years at UW-Milwaukee going to school to be a teacher, and really that's what teachers do, right, is they connect students to ideas and make them passionate about those ideas so that they can learn something, because we learn what we're most passionate about. So as a teacher originally, I thought, it would be really fun to help students do that. Now, unfortunately, I found that that teaching in the traditional sense was very unfulfilling for me, simply because it just wasn't fast-paced enough for me. It's more of a process than it is an event. So I said, I need to get into the business world and learn how to teach people how to connect to other people better. So I moved from education into IT, and you say, well, IT people, they're geeks in the traditional sense, right? They only connect to ideas and concepts, and they don't like people. But I can tell you that IT people love to connect to people when they have something in common, and that's the key point. So I learned in IT that if you can find the commonality, you can really make even the biggest introvert into an extrovert, because people love to talk about what they love. So I went from there to being a stockbroker, went back into IT, and then decided to get into speaking and training and consulting because the people that come to my workshops, the people that come and hear me speak, are the most passionate of the most passionate, because they have gone the extra mile to reach out and to take time out of their day above and beyond what they normally do to hear me speak or to attend a training session or to read my book.
Help me out with it. Let's go back to this concept of relationship for a moment, Phil. Everybody talks about it, but it's so difficult to find anybody that has any clear definition of what even a relationship is. And in fact, most people don't even put a relationship-type strategy in place. What is your take on that? And in fact, if you don't mind me putting you on the spot, do you have a definition for what a relationship is today in business?
Sure. Well, I would say that a relationship is a meaningful understanding between two people of who I am and who you are, so that we can work together to help each other. Now, that's maybe a little bit different than the traditional understanding of what relationship is, right? Maybe, some people think relationship means we have to be dating or we've got to be family or something like that. But I really see a relationship as a symbiotic kind of organism, if you will, that together we're going to make more than we could alone. So that 1 and 1 make 3 concept is really big with me.
Oh, I guess. So our independence is a direct result of our interdependence.
Exactly.
In cooperation with so many people. I love it. Okay, so that kind of makes sense. So in your case, when you go out to meet people, and I know going out to events is just one way to meet people, are you always going after the relationship? Is that always what's at the forefront of your interactions, or how do you pick and choose that? How do you move that to new levels?
Sure. Well, my goal, certainly relationship is an outcome, but really my goal is to learn from other people. So the relationship happens, but it's simply because of my desire to learn from other people. Again, it gets back to that concept, Ron, of surrounding yourself with people that can help you and that are smarter than you. Because if I can learn from you, then hopefully I can teach you something as well. Because, in this highly specialized society, more and more people know less and less of things, but are deeper and deeper in their knowledge. So if I can find someone who's passionate about, let's say, I'm not mechanically inclined, so let's say an auto mechanic, and I can get inside them and ask them some questions about, so why is being a mechanic important to you? What's interesting about being a mechanic? And chances are, if they're passionate about it, they're going to tell me about it, and it's going to make me passionate as well, because, right, passion begets passion. So the more passionate person is, the more I can learn from them, and hopefully then the more they'll be able to learn about me.
So while most people are attending a networking event, if you will, we'll use that as an analogy, to better themselves, when they can stumble on a guy like you that wants to learn from them, wow. So just their ability to be able to talk about themselves helps to unleash whatever greatness they have inside them. Is that correct?
Absolutely. The more that you know about yourself, the greater you can become.
That's and of course your passion is to help unleash that. So give me a couple of other simple strategies, Phil. When you go out to connect with people, what else are you doing that's kind of developing a habit of doing what most people don't do? Is it safe? Is that a good question to ask you?
I think so. Yeah, I think that's a great
what's
question.
so different about your approach to people that gets you connected to people faster?
Sure. Well, first of all, I'm all about the quality of the relationship, not the quantity, though I certainly have a lot of people in my network now because I've been working on that quality over time. My goal is to deeply connect with someone, and then instead of doing, maybe like Keith Ferrazzi says, and never eat alone, and that is quickly getting to know a little bit, giving them a business card or getting a business card and then moving on, I instead look to know as much about that person as I can, and then we'll deepen that relationship. So while most will go to a networking event and try to meet 100 people and get 100 business cards, my goal is to just go and meet maybe 5 or 10 people, but to get to really, really know them, and then to cultivate that relationship over time like a farmer would cultivate his crops. And by treating people as people instead of numbers, it's really easy to get deeper quicker, but you have to do that.
No, I hear you, and which is great. And we live in such a world where there's been such a steady decline of social capital, this glue that literally holds community and relationships together. Wouldn't you agree, or maybe not, Phil, that today, more than any other time in history, people are so open to connection? I mean, and they're so vulnerable, and I don't mean that they are defenseless. Don't you feel and sense that people are open today more so than any other time in history?
Absolutely. I would say even more than open. I would say they crave an authentic connection. Where we live in that microwave generation of 10-second interactions, if someone's willing to take the time to actually spend 30, 90, 120, half a day with someone and really get to know and understand them, and then to follow that up with some specific questions, instead of trying to sell, if instead we focus on trying to serve, people are really craving that and really need that level of interaction, because often we don't get it at work because management is spread thinner and thinner. We don't get that at home because, with the PTA and the soccer team and Little League and, 3 kids and this and that and trying to work more hours so you can afford more stuff, we lose that connection point. So people
I know,
are craving.
and this is the season to be jolly, isn't it? This is
Absolutely.
the season to go into debt. My God. So you called it a microwave what?
The microwave generation of 10-second interactions.
Now, I apologize. I understand how you're using it, but who said microwave? Where'd you hear microwave generation?
Well, that's one of my sayings.
That's one of your
I've used
sayings.
myself. Yep.
Because you can do everything so fast in the microwave, so you're not interested in that 10-second interaction.
Right, absolutely. I'm looking for the slow cooker of the relationship. Absolutely.
Oh, okay. Well, they got them. They call them crock pots, don't they?
That's right. Absolutely.
You can put it in and go to sleep and wake up the next day. Now, talk to me. Let's move a little bit to this Make It Great thing. You have a book titled 10 Ways to Make It Great. And by the way, if you're just tuning in or coming into the middle of this podcast, I'm with Phil Gerbyshak, who is the author of 10 Ways to Make It Great. He's a speaker, a consultant, and somehow he got this title from a friend of his as a relationship geek, and I'm really believing that. Now, getting back to Phil, 10 ways to make what great, Phil?
Well, that's why it's it, Ron, because it is whatever you want it to be. It, for me, is my life. I want to make my life great. But for some people, they might want to make their business great. They might want to make their network great. They might want to make their career great. Whatever that is, you can use my book as that map that will help get you there. But it's more than a map. It's really a workbook.
And is that in the book itself, that's easily found at makeitgreatguy.com?
Sure, you can get it off of there directly. If you go to makeitgreatbook.com, it'll get you there, or you can go to amazon.com and pick it up there as well.
Okay, great. So we got that. So let's get back to this then. So anything, whatever I want to make great, I can make great. Do you have a simple definition for me that what great means?
Sure. Well, great is really the superlative of good, right? A lot of times we walk around, so how you feeling today, Ron? I'm good. Well, how's things? They're good, right? Or really the superlative of nice, right? You tell people to have a nice day. Well, what the heck does that mean? It means absolutely nothing. It's flavorless and doesn't really mean anything, right? If somebody tells you how they're doing,
that's right. Okay, I got it.
People ask you how they're doing, you say fine. Well, fine sucks, right? So let's be great. Let's focus on something better, right? If I want to be great, that means that I want to be the best at whatever it is that I'm working at right now. I want to be better than good, better than fine, better than nice. I want to be great.
Now, who's saying that? You're saying that, or they're saying that?
Whomever wants to make it great.
Maybe people are not comfortable with being great. I mean, great takes on responsibility, doesn't it?
Absolutely. Well, just like Spider-Man says, right? With great power comes great responsibility. But if you choose to make it great, that means that you will live moment by moment, minute by minute, day by day, choosing the best possible outcome. Now, that doesn't mean everything is perfect. I didn't say make it perfect, because perfect is impossible. We're all people. People are not perfect people, and that's the way it works. But if you can choose to make it great and take whatever happens to you and choose to spin that around and to make the best out of it, you can make it great. But it's a choice. It's not just something passive that happens to you, right? Like you don't, you make a loaf of bread, right? You have a piece of bread, or maybe you have some Wonder Bread. But you really want to make a loaf of bread and think about how good that tastes, how that smells, how that feels, and think of your life in the same way as you would that loaf of bread.
So I'm going to get out of this concept of mindless eating, huh? Is that what they call it?
Exactly. Absolutely.
So you're getting me to think about myself and my day and my activities.
Absolutely, and choose to make it great. Don't just have a nice day.
Oh, and Phil, I just love your approach to this. I mean, it's real. It's very authentic. And so you want to make it great for people. You wrote a book called 10 Ways to Make It Great. Let's throw out a couple of ways. Can we get a couple of ways on the table?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, we started out with beginning at the end and working toward today. Of course, instead of beginning at the beginning, you begin at the end, and then you choose each choice that'll align with how you want to be. Okay? We also talk about learning about yourself being one of those keys. And we talked a little bit about that because the more you know about yourself, the more valuable you are to others.
Yeah, but now you're telling me or suggesting that I find reason for being. I become a more purpose-driven. Is that what I'm hearing?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah, so wow, that's, but most people don't have a sense of that purpose. But you're saying that if in fact I got more purpose-driven, that I can have greater days.
Absolutely.
And a greater life.
Yep, absolutely. But you can choose, right? You can choose to loaf if you want to. That's up to you. But again, then that even choosing to loaf is a choice that you need to make.
Okay,
right?
Got it. I like it. So keep throwing out a couple more if you don't mind.
Not at all.
This is intriguing.
Sure. Well, never stop learning is another big key, and I talked about that, and that's kind of at the fiber of my personal being, because I'm always learning from people, always learning from books, read a lot of blogs, listen to a lot of podcasts. I am always looking for new ways to do old things and to present old things, because I want to connect with people in an authentic way, and I want to understand what's important to them, because it's going to be different than what's important to me. Another big key, and this will be the one that I kind of tease you with here. It's finishing what you started, and just getting started. Because some folks like me, I'm a great starter. I'm not going to lie to you. I can start things. I've probably got at any one time 50 or 60 different projects up in the air. But the key for me is to flip that around and instead to narrow down which ones I finish and really finish strong with those. And some people are just the opposite, right? They're great finishers, but they're not great starters. So that's where the tip comes in, Ron, that you need to surround yourself with people who can help you.
Oh, I love it. So it's really building a network of key contacts, I would think, but to identify the kinds of people that you need to have in your network.
Absolutely correct.
I love that. So my God, 10 ways. Now, you've only given us, 3 or 4 ways?
Yep, I've given you half the book right there.
Half the book right there, but we got to have the other half. I got that, and And the way people can get it is what? They can go to makeitgreatbook.com
Absolutely.
or makeitgreatguy.com or go right to amazon.com.
Yep, exactly.
And for people listening, Gerbyshak is Gerbyshak. Byshak.
That's correct.
Okay, got it. Now, by the way, I'm going to step aside for just a moment as we get ready to close our time together today, but let's just make a projection. Let's just kind of project out a little bit. What's the likelihood, Phil, that the Green Bay Packers are going to make their way to the Super Bowl this year?
I'd say
I know you're in Milwaukee. You're familiar with the Green Bay Packers.
Absolutely.
Okay,
Absolutely.
I thought so.
Yeah, well,
but they're having a great year, aren't they?
They are. Favre is doing some amazing things.
And so, do you have anything to do with their great year? Did they buy the book 10 Ways to Make It a Great Season?
Well, not yet, but my cousin actually is the voice of the Packers at the Packers Stadium. Yeah, if you ever go to Lambeau Field and you hear the guy yelling "first down," that's my cousin Bill Jartz.
That's fantastic. Today we've been speaking with Phil Gerbyshak. He's a speaker, a consultant, an author, and certainly a relationship geek. But really, as we often have on this show, this podcast is people with a passion. And I can't imagine anybody listening to the show today and not thinking that Phil is that way. For those that want to learn more about Phil, you've got multiple websites to visit, but makeitgreatguy.com, makeitgreatbook.com for the book, Amazon for the book. By the way, Phil, if people want to call you, is there a number that you would suggest they use?
Absolutely. I'll give you my cell phone number that'll get you right through to me. If I pick up the phone, I can promise you I've got at least 5 minutes to talk. My number is 414-640-7445. And if you can't remember that, if you ever go to makeitgreatguy.com, you'll see on the right side under my contact information, that phone number is right there, and I'd love to talk to you.
I love that comment, Phil, and you never hear that from people. It'll get right through to me, and then I guarantee you that I will have 5 minutes to talk. That's unbelievable. I'm going to test that, Phil. I'm going to see if I can make some calls and kind of catch you at an awkward time and see if I can be guaranteed that 5 minutes.
Absolutely. Anytime, Ron.
I love that. That's a great and Phil, in closing, we always like to leave people thinking about something. I call them thinking points for connecting forward. And Phil, what thinking point can you leave for the audience today?
Well, the thinking point that I would leave people with is to challenge them to think about how can you better serve other people? Because the more you serve, the more that people want to give back to you. But don't ever, ever keep score. Because remember, the score often gets evened up with the universe, not by the person that you gave to first.
Wow. I love that, Phil. It's a great ending. Thanks so much for coming on the show. And there's no doubt everybody loved listening to you.
Thank
you,
Ron.
Phil.
Thanks. It was my pleasure.
Thanks for listening to Beyond Networking. For more information or to subscribe to this podcast, visit smallbizamerica.com.
Small Biz America.